Have you ever woken up, looked at your to-do list, and felt a level of exhaustion that goes way beyond just being tired? Like, your brain is physically refusing to engage and you start spiraling into this dark place of thinking, maybe I'm just getting lazy. Maybe I've lost my edge. Well, today we're dismantling that myth. We're diving into why that lazy feeling might actually be your nervous system screaming for help.
It's a powerful shift in perspective, isn't it? We live in a culture that treats the human brain like a laptop, something you can just keep plugged in and running at 100% capacity indefinitely. But biology doesn't work that way. When we talk about burnout, we aren't talking about a lack of willpower. We're talking about a physiological state where the cost of staying on has finally exceeded the body's ability to pay for it.
That's a great way to put it. A biological debt. But why does it feel so much like a moral failure? When people hit that wall, they don't usually say, my autonomic nervous system is dysregulated. They say, I'm failing. Why is there such a disconnect between what's happening in our nerves and what we tell ourselves in our heads?
Because the symptoms of a fried nervous system look exactly like what we've been taught to call laziness. Procrastination, withdrawal, emotional numbness, these are actually sophisticated defense mechanisms. When your system is stuck in a state of chronic high arousal, your brain eventually realizes it can't sustain the fight or flight mode anymore. So, it pivots. It enters a freeze or shutdown state to protect itself from further damage. It's not that you don't want to do the work, it's that your biological hardware has literally pulled the circuit breaker to prevent a total fire.
So it's a safety feature, not a bug. But in the modern world, those circuit breakers are constantly being tested. You mentioned chronic activation. I'm thinking about the way we live now. The Slack pings at 9 p.m., the infinite scroll, the pressure to have a side hustle. It feels like we've created a world that our prehistoric nervous systems weren't built for.
Exactly. Evolutionarily, stress was meant to be acute. A predator chases you, you run, you survive, and then you rest. There's a clear beginning and end. Today, the predator is a mortgage, a performance review, or an unread inbox. These things don't go away, so the body keeps pumping out cortisol and adrenaline. Over time, this biologically expensive state starts degrading everything from your sleep architecture to your cognitive performance. You start losing your executive function, the very part of the brain you need to actually solve the problems causing the stress.
And that's where the sleep destruction cycle comes in, right? I've been there. You're so exhausted you can barely stand. But the moment your head hits the pillow, your mind starts racing like a Formula One car. It feels like a cruel joke. Why does the body refuse to rest when it needs it most?
It's called hyperarousal. Because the nervous system has been in survival mode all day, it doesn't feel safe enough to drop into deep restorative sleep. It stays on guard, and this creates a devastating feedback loop. Poor sleep leads to lower emotional resilience, which makes tomorrow's stress feel even heavier, which further prevents sleep. You're trapped in a system that's vibrating at a frequency too high to allow for repair.
This is where I find the data really interesting. We're seeing more people turn to things like heart rate variability, or HRV, to actually see this happening in real time. It's like a dashboard for the soul, or at least for the vagus nerve. For someone who isn't a data geek, how does HRV actually tell the story of burnout?
Think of HRV as a measure of your nervous system's flexibility. High variability is good. It means your heart can jump from a resting state to an active state and back again easily. It shows resilience. But when someone is heading toward burnout, their HRV often starts to trend downward and stay there. The beat-to-beat intervals become very rhythmic and rigid. It's a sign that the sympathetic nervous system, the gas pedal, is stuck on, and the parasympathetic brake isn't working. The data often catches this weeks before the person actually feels the burnout.
So the body is whispering long before it starts screaming. But let's talk about the hustle culture we're in. We see these no days off memes and people bragging about 4 hours of sleep. It's almost like we've turned exhaustion into a status symbol. How do we push back against that when the world seems to reward the grind?
By realizing that performance without recovery is a mathematical impossibility in biology. Even elite athletes, the people whose lives depend on peak performance, spend more time obsessing over recovery than the actual training. They know that you don't get stronger during the workout, you get stronger during the sleep after the workout. We need to start viewing recovery not as doing nothing, but as an active, essential biological process. It's not a luxury, it's maintenance.
I love that. Recovery as an active choice. But for someone listening who's already in the thick of it, who feels that numbness and that brain fog, where do they even start? If the system is overwhelmed, adding a 10-step recovery plan might just feel like more work.
You start small, and you start with the body, not the mind. You can't usually think your way out of a nervous system problem. You have to act your way out. That means consistent sleep windows, even if the sleep isn't perfect yet. It means sunlight in the morning to reset your circadian clock. It means movement that doesn't feel like a chore. And honestly, it means self-compassion. The moment you stop calling yourself lazy and start realizing you're overloaded, your stress levels actually drop. You're no longer fighting yourself.
It's almost a philosophical shift. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" you ask, "What has my system been carrying?" It changes the whole internal dialogue.
Precisely. We're moving into an era of health intelligence where we can finally see the invisible. Technologies like OXYZEN aren't just about tracking steps, they're about giving us a mirror to see our internal balance. When you see your recovery scores dropping, it's an invitation to pause before the collapse happens. It turns health from a guessing game into a conversation with your own physiology.
It feels like the future of wellness isn't just about doing more, but about knowing more, so we can do better. As we wrap up, I'm thinking about that person staring at their screen right now, feeling that weight. What's the one thing you want them to take away from this?
Just this: you are not a machine. Machines don't get tired, they just break. You are a biological organism that requires cycles of intensity and cycles of deep, profound rest. If you're feeling burnt out, it's not because you're weak, it's because you've been strong for too long without a break. Your nervous system isn't failing you, it's trying to save you. Listen to it. Learning how to recover in a world that never stops is perhaps the most important survival skill of the 21st century.
You've been strong for too long. That's going to stick with me. It's a reminder that we need to treat ourselves with at least as much care as we treat our technology. If your phone was at 1%, you'd plug it in. You wouldn't yell at it for being lazy. Maybe it's time we did the same for ourselves.
Exactly. Plug back in, find your rhythm, and remember that the most productive thing you can do today might just be absolutely nothing at all. The world will still be there when your batteries are recharged.